Alright, in this tutorial basically I'm going to show you how you can create a simple GUI to solve the same simple task that we did previously. So in previous task we simply replaced certain characters within a string with something else, for example numbers. So that was my last lecture. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use the same code, but this time instead of using this code in a hard form like we did public static void main and we put the code there, let's just use the GUI frame and then develop that. So what we're going to do is we're going into our NetBeans app. If you have already set that up, fantastic. Let me just create a new project for that. We'll go into Java applications, new. For example, I will use this character replace app. Okay, so this is just a simple app that will replace my character, or in fact I can name it as an encryption app or whatever I want to do that. Once I have that, I have a basic app set up, character replace. I've got a source package. Within my source package, it's this another sub package name that is character replace app, same as that one, that contains the main file called character replace app.java. So basically same name structure is being followed. This is done with NetBeans, right? So once we have that, I will go into character this subfolder, right click here, new, and I will create something called JFrame form. Once I have that, I will name it as for example CHR replace frame, all right? So that the name connectivity actually remains the same. Click on finish, so it just should finish the task, and it would give me a very simple frame that I want to work with. Okay, so we have a simple frame GUI, that's it, nothing fancy. So what I do is now I come into my palette. Within my palette, let's just create an app. For example, I can use it a character replace, or I can give it a fancy name. For example, ENCRYPT encryption app. All right, let's just use that. I just came up with it. So once we have that label set, obviously you can come into its properties. Label are basically just labels. They are just text that appear on your frame or on your application or app, whatever you want to call it. Font name, I want to increase this font name. So for example, let me just make it big, Bahoma, and just give it a very nice something of a quick font. Usually I'm not very clear about that in these apps. So I have an encryption app here. Then again I create another label. So I click here, come here, double click on this, enter text to ENCRYPT encrypt. Okay, so we have that. Again we can change this font to, for example, I will just use the standard 12. Click OK, and then I will go into the text field. So I scroll down and you would find a text field. So click here and we place it in front of this text, and we obviously once you place a component here, you can see this kit has these square boxes. These square boxes indicate that basically you can increase the size or decrease the size of these text field. Now currently we are using single line text field, so we're just going with that. Obviously if it's a proper encryption app and you want a multi-text, you would preferably use text area, or you can go into editor pane for a complex editing with that. But for now, let's get an idea, and we just use this as it is, right? So I increase the size in the properties. Obviously you can change lots of different properties of each component here, from text size to color and properties and whatever you want to do. For now we did that. Okay, and then once we have that, we need an output on something. So that output can be a text field or text area, or we can present that once I click on that, it should be somewhere everywhere. So since it is there, I use another text field as my output. Okay, and I make it a bigger size. I create a label, right, and ENCRY encrypted text, right, that becomes my heading. So this is my encrypted text. Okay, and I will just place it here so it appears with that. Okay, NetBeans is a very cool way of showing you these lines and grids to align your components very clearly and very accurately. Use them, it will make your life a lot easy. Again, I will select this text component, go into the font, click on this button here and change the font to, for example, 12, so it's more readable. Alignment left is fine, everything is okay. But again, now because this is my output text, I don't want this text to be editable, so user should not be able to edit this text. So I can come here, and I think there's a property here either enabled, I can disable that, so this output will be here, but user cannot for example select anything, or it can, there's some property here called editable. If I can find it, it's scrollable, offset, preset, offset. There's some property here that says that this text should be editable. editable, edit, ed, cursor, align, arguments. I don't know, I cannot find it. Where is it? Yeah, I think there it is, editable, right? It's just the first property that you go around. How crazy it is, right? Sorry. So the first property you get in the text field is whether it is editable or not. Basically means the user can edit this text or not. Since I just want to show them the output, I just want to disable that, right? So now the text piece becomes there, but it's not editable at all. Then finally I need a button, so I can click on that. Double click on this button, sorry, go back to design. Again, if you do that, accidentally double click, it will actually take you to the source code where you can go and write this code. For now, we are not going to code. To go back to the design, click this button here. This is the button, click here. What this will do is it will take you from the source back to the design view, if you call it. Then I right click on it and I say edit text. And I will just give it another INCRYT, encrypt my text, right? So here we go. Again, I will select the button, go into the font, and let me just give it a bold, for example, 14 size, and let's give it some fancy font if I can find any of that for that matter. Nope. Yeah, that should do it. Right, encrypt my text. Here we go. And obviously you can change the color of this font as well. So if I click here, it should give me whatever font color I want. So in this case, I think that should be cool. There we go. All right, and you can obviously put an icon there. You can do whatever you want. All right, so now once we have that, this is the front end design. Obviously when the app starts, I don't want to say JS text field 1, so I right click, edit text, and I delete that. Right click, edit text, and I'll delete that. All right, so when you right click on a menu, you get a bunch of different options that you can do with this menu. Edit text means whatever the visible text is on that, so I just changed that. So now my app is ready. I get this is the my app design. When I run the application, this is what design I should get. Once I have that, now let's go back into the coding. So I take my text field, right click, and now need to customize few things so that when I code, I can easily look into the things that are there. So first thing that we need to do is change the variable names, because you know the variable names would make your life easy when you go into a software development. In this case, we used to write an abbreviation, for example txt. It represents text field. So the text field would be, for example, text field word, right? And I click OK. Then this is another text field where my output is going to be, so I need to know its name as well. So do make sure you right click on it, change variable name. Again, this is the text field, and I can just simply say output, right, and click OK. Right, and so this is my text word, change variable name. I gave it a text word, so now I know this is text word and this is text output. Because these are text fields, they are just there to display the text. I'm not concerned with that. I'm not going to edit them. Third thing is that I have to work with the button. So I go into it, change variable name. For button, I use an initial suffix called btn. It tells me this is the button. All right. So now when I look into my list, I can identify which component I'm talking about. So if I have to look for a button, I know the suffix is supposed to be btn, and then I can say encrypt. Button encrypt would call the button encryption text, or whatever you want to know. So always name your variables and components very accurately. It will help you save your life to a lot of greater extent. So if you come here, see this button encrypt, text out, text world, then JLabel, right? So JLabel doesn't make any sense. I don't know what JLabel 4 is until I select it and see it. But if I name it properly, then I can easily see, this is text word, this is text output, and this is my text encrypt. So now what we need to do is we need to ensure that when I click on this button, certain actions are supposed to perform. That action is that whatever text is written here is encrypted, and then output is given here. All right, so that's the one task. I click on a button, once the button is clicked, whatever text is written in my text word field, this one, text word field, the text is read, and then it's encrypted and displayed onto this text field bar. Right, so action perform basically is a word we use in Java to associate that when a user does certain action, whether that's a click, whether it's mouse movement, or any action that is supposed to be performed. So in this case, we say when my user clicks on this button, that's an action performed. So that's an event, that's an action performed event. Something has happened. What's happened? Based on user's interaction. So that event is basically driven by selecting the button, right clicking on that, going into events, right? See, events, something has happened. That's an event. That's an event that has usually been triggered by a user. So we go into that events, and then there are a bunch of events that you can very easily customize in NetBeans. That's the advantage of using NetBeans. You don't have to worry too much about knowing every single keyword, every single function within Java. It automatically helps you and does lots of repetitive tasks very easily for you. So that's why we prefer to use NetBeans for most of the Java coding. So we right click on the button, go into events. Events would basically allow me to write a code behind this button. So whenever user clicks on this button, what should happen? Which event should trigger, right? So first we need to decide that when a user clicks, so I come into mouse and mouse click. That's my first event. I can use mouse pressed as well. So as soon as mouse is pressed, certain event is triggered. By press means user has pressed but not let go already, right? So it's pressed and it is still pressed. So as soon as mouse is pressed, certain event triggers. Mouse release means the mouse has been released, so the click has been let go. That's a second event. We can trigger that as well. So once it's pressed, something happened, let go, something happened. All right, see, mouse click, that's just one click. That's another event. Mouse entered, mouse exit means mouse entered over this button. That's an event. Mouse left a button without clicking. There's no click there. Just entered. That's again an event. So you can customize to that level. This is just mouse, and then there's tons of other things. I'm not going into that already now. So for me, just the mouse click. When user clicks on this button, what should happen? So I click on this. Automatically, NetBeans takes me to this backend source code design. Right? Previously, we were in design mode. Now we are in source mode. What source mode is? Source mode basically allows you to do the source. A button encrypt, mouse clicked, that's an AWT event. What should happen when this event is triggered? When a user clicks and triggers this event, mouse clicks on this button, an event is triggered. In that event, what should that happen? So it says to do your handling code here. This is where you actually write the code. So what I should do? I will simply say replace char character. For example, that can be C is equal to new replace char. Create an object of this class, right? This class. Remember, we had created this class in my previous code, which was replace class. What it did was it took certain string, for example, hello world, and replaced the occurrence of E with 6, L with 9. So I had created this code with respect to method. So we had declared our method, and it should do, it just took the read a word and then it processed it, converted into completely encrypted form. So what we do now is we use this class, create an object. Using that object, we call this method. Once we call this method, we need to provide it an argument. So I go back into my code and I say replace character RC is equal to new replace character. Okay, it says cannot find symbol. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Now, if you remember, what we've done was this replace character was actually, in fact, a class in completely different code. This was a class in a different app project, in a different project, in other words. This is a different project. We just created a new project. So this code is not here. One thing I can do is I can copy this file, I believe, and come into this folder and paste it. Refactor copy. What this should do is it should copy that entire picture and then copy it here. All right. So it takes this replace character and pastes it completely here with a character replace app. So I copied one file from one project and transferred it into a new project. The refactor error, that means basically it will automatically update the packages as they are for with a new respect. If you just do a simple copy, it will still use the package of an old package. So if I come here, see this, the class package is string app. It still uses the string app as the main project, and it uses that string app as the package. Basically, it resides within this project. So if you do a copy paste, this exact copy paste would be done. But a refactor copy paste basically means that it's intelligent. It will automatically replace, sorry, if I come back here, it will automatically replace whatever necessary code there is to ensure this file is now belongs to your new package, and it runs there. So that's a neat little trick for you there. So I don't have to write the code again. I just use the replace character code. I have a public static void main. Remember, this is what we did. So in other words, this is the only line of code that we now need to copy. Replace character RC is equal to new replace character, and then call that method for function. So I come back into my code. I have a replace replace character. This is my method. Now I come here, rc dot, as soon as I press dot, I get my replace. Now I need to provide a word. Previously we used hello world. In this case I'm just going to say text word word. Remember, text word is your word text field, right? So we need to use that text word, then dot. What dot basically means that now I'm going to use this as an object and connect it with its methods from within that class. Now there's a method called get text. Okay, now this is a method get text or set text, right? These are two methods. Get means receive, get it, give me that data, right? So it's like give me this thing, and it's going to go into the text field. Whatever text is written there, it's going to fetch that and then return that text to this my replace word string, right? So what we have done is we have said that go into the text field, get the text, whatever is written in the text field in the GUI form, read that text and give it to me, and it will return whatever we wrote in that text field in our GUI file at runtime. It will take that code, return it to the system, and then we can process that text. So by processing we mean we actually took that text and pass it on to the replace method. We took our own custom replace method that we designed in my previous lecture. So we took that method and we gave it to the my replace method. My replace method would basically go into this class, and this method would be called, and then it will convert that into a character array, process each character element, find E, replace it with 6, find L, replace it with 9, and print that character array. I'm coming back to the printer method. So this is what it's going to do, as simple as that. Okay, so that should do the trick. So once if I go back into the code, now the problem is I need to ensure the output is actually coming onto this design. In my replace method, I was printing the output on the console as an output, which I cannot do anymore. So now I would go back into my replace and I would use a string as a return type. So now basically means that whenever I call a replace method, I would convert my string into this new string form and then replace it, return it to the calling function. So I will come here and now I need to do return statement. Okay, again return I had explained previously as well. Return or return type basically means giving a reply to your calling function. So my replace has been called in one function. It is supposed to perform certain task and then it is supposed to give an answer. It's going to return certain value, give us some answer back to the system. So in our case it's supposed to be a string. So what I will do here is I will simply use new string object and give it this character array, CHARR as semicolon. That's it. So this is the array that we had created. Now once this string is complete, what we did was we created a new string object, gave it an argument as a string array. It will take that array, convert that entire array into another string and return that string as an argument back through this form. This will return it to its calling function. So wherever we actually going into my calling function, this returned answer will be received here. So now what we do is I create string ans answer. That should be the thing, right? So we get the answer here. Now simple. Text output. Remember that? Another text field that we had created. Text output, we use set text method and we give it the answer variable. NetBeans automatically fills it in. Perfect. There we go. So what we did was we created a GUI, text word, text output. These are two text fields that we created. Third, the button. Once the button is clicked, the whatever text is entered here is encrypted in this form here. Word variables are corrected. So we right click events, a mouse. We created an event on that button to do that task. Alright, so once mouse click is done, this is where it is. So now we can write the code here as well, no problem. We can directly, because it's small code. But the concept is you use a function or you use a separate class to do a certain task and then just create an object of that to do that task, right? So that's the basic object-oriented principle. So that's what we're trying to do here. We created a class, we wrote a function within that class that performs that task for us. What's that task is? It basically replaces that. Now obviously this is a very simple encryption thing. You can do whatever you want. You can increase if else as you go along. You can write a switch statement to this, do more cleaner version of multiple if-else statements, right? So you can use a switch statement to compare and check each single character and replace it with whatever character you have, and you can replace it with that. For our science, we understand this thing is working fine. We come back here, we have this code, and then we just come here and we compile this project. Hopefully we should get a yeah, there's no error here so far, so we are assuming that we output this, the window gone. Okay, so there's no output, sorry. There's build is successful, but there is no output. Hi, why is that? We have a design interface, we have a replacement, we don't see any errors popping up either. However, if I close the remaining windows, remember when we created a project, it created a file called characterreplace.java. This is the file that actually contains your public static void main method, all right? And this is why we always argue that the main method is the method which starts your software. Whenever you double click on an icon, basically you can think that public static void main is the first thing that gets executed whenever you double click on any icon, any app, or anything that you want to launch. So whenever we do that, public static void main for Java specifically, or main for other apps, but this is the first thing that gets executed. So that is why we need to have that, and then that is why we need to tell this main method that when the user double clicks on this thing, what is that you are supposed to do. In my case, I will just simply say char character replace frame, right? That's something that we had created. I will say create my new window is equal to new char replace frame. All right, so I created a new replace frame object of this class. Again, why we created an object? We need to create an object so that the system can so excuse me, so the system can actually create an object of that class. Remember, that's what Java structure is all about. We've been talking about it all along. Java, everything is class, object, we write the code in a class, we create an object of that class, we call its method. So this frame is in a separate class, this character replace code is in a separate class. In order to use this, we created its object in this class, right? This is where we created an object and use this code. Now, in order to use this frame though, we have to create an object of this class in this thing, and then use this, for example, new window dot set visible, I think should do the trick. True, I think that should do the trick. Right. So once object is created, assumingly this object has been created, in order to make it visible, we need to use a method called set new. We use this new window dot set visible, because the object is there, but because it's a GUI frame, Java still doesn't know that should I show that GUI frame or are you waiting for something else to happen. So we have to tell it that once this object is created, show me that object, right? So in order to show that object, we go into set visible true, click on the run again. Hopefully this time I should get a window popping up somewhere, and so it's gone into the second window. If I can just bring it here. All right, here we go. So this is my Encrypt app created. Very simple app. I can write hello world, how LOVE lovely you are. Right, so I wrote the string. It has multiple L's, it has some E's inside it. I click on encrypt. Here we go. So wherever there is E, I think here we go. Right, that's just scary. I thought H was also converted. Okay, because the string is long, it's been hidden. I need to add scrollers or something like that. But anyway, so H is there. Then wherever there was occurrence of E has been replaced with 999, and O and W are 9. H, how are L? Again, this is a capital L. We did tell it to do a capital L. It's just did small l. So small l has been replaced with 9, and E again has been replaced with 6. And similarly, if I go back at the end, RE has been replaced with 9. So this is a simple encryption thing that you can do that replaces a certain characters with certain other characters. And obviously, you only know the key, and then that key can be anything. That can be a single character, or 16-bit character, or 30-bit window, however you want to build that key later on. But this is how basically a simple app works. So we had the code, we did the logic, and then we designed an app very simply, very quickly to do whatever tasks we want to do. Right, this is Dr. Zeeshan Bhatti. Thank you very much for watching. If you've been watching this video for the first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and click on that bell icon so you can receive more cool videos like that. See you soon.